Go get
I
some
mean, that
learning.
part, right?
How about we do that? I could talk freely about sex with my mother.
No, you told me that.
Yeah.
Hey guys, this is your girl Akia. Welcome to Rooted with Red. And I am so excited today because we are going to be talking about all the juicy stuff around purity culture and just deconstruction around that topic. And I'm here with my good friend, auntie, big sister. I mean, she wears a myriad of hats when it comes to me. She even counsels me from time to time, unofficially. Davia Stevenson, how are you today?
You know what? I'm good.
Thank you for being here.
I'm excited to be here, lady.
Well, you hosted me, and I wanted to return the favor.
Well, I appreciate it. And I love what you're doing, so I can't wait to see where this conversation goes.
Yes.
You look far more prepared than I am when I do my interviews.
No, you're good. I have to because I got notes because I got lots of things I want to talk to you about. We're gonna pick your brain today, girlfriend.
All right.
But couple questions.
Sure.
I'm gonna just do some rapid fire ones.
Okay.
You don't have to be super quick to answer them, but just to pique some people's interest. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
One myth about purity culture you wish would disappear.
Oh, that is the way to pureness. It's not the way to purity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I hear that. One thing churches get wrong about mental health.
That it's a demonstration of some sort of lack in your spiritual life. Two different lanes.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, I might have to circle back and have you say more on that. Okay. One thing parents should say more often to their teenagers.
I see you.
Ooh. I see you.
I see you.
What does emotional safety actually feel like?
It's been on my journey to that as well. It feels, so this is going to sound a little interesting, detached, but not detached from the need for approval, detached from those types of things. It's very connected, but there's things I think you have to detach from first to feel safe. And you got to feel safe here. I think we look for that to be, to come from a person or a place or a position or relationship.
Yeah.
And it doesn't.
Man, that's exactly right. I love that inner safety, right?
Yeah.
All right. Can faith and autonomy coexist?
Absolutely.
Okay. What does healthy spirituality mean in one sentence?
Healthy spirituality in one sentence. It is recognizing the personal, I think, and universal nature of God. Inclusive of, I'm trying to make one sentence, inclusive of culture, personal experience, and freedom.
Woo, that's a mic drop. You said a word. That's a mouthful right there. I love that. Okay, I want to make sure I get my notes in order here.
Okay.
All right. So, as I said, we're going to be talking about purity culture today.
Okay.
And we're going to be diving into some of your thoughts, your personal kind of story around that. And also just your clinical perspective of just like the clients, of course, without divulging.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
But just what you see as a licensed therapist when people come to you.
Yeah. I can even say as a parent.
Yeah.
I would do it much differently than I did as a parent. My kids grew up very much in that space, in that purity culture space. And I think it's incomplete. At a minimum, it's incomplete. I think there are other things about it, but at a minimum, it's incomplete. Look, you have your notes and I have my fan. If you're okay with me turning that on periodically, we'll be good.
Midlife, y'all. Midlife.
Well, okay. Like my husband said, girl, you already going to live to 120. Is that what you want to do? Midlife. But, okay, ask me the question again because I got distracted with my.
So, no, I mean, I hadn't even asked you. You were starting to talk about purity culture as a mom and how you would do it different. So, yeah.
I think it's I think it's rooted in control. and in fear. I think it's prescriptive, but doesn't allow for, it's a bunch of no's. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, or this bad thing will happen.
Yeah.
And it does not include a broader understanding of relationship, of even physiology, frankly,
Right.
of responsibility. I think it shortcuts an individual's opportunity to be responsible with their own body. Just don't.
Wow. Wow.
Right? You don't talk about how you don't or why you don't, or is don't the right answer for you?
Yeah.
What's that rooted in? What does it mean? It's prescriptive.
No, it's funny. It's like, the book that I just wrote and is releasing on July 7th, Divorcing
Excited.
Religion, Finding God.
Yeah.
It's a deep dive into deconstruction. Of course, it is part memoir, right? Because I very much have lived the religious trauma, spiritual abuse life. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention my own experiences with it, right? But it also is like a guide for those people it's a gentle guide, I think, for those people who are deconstructing. One of the things about religious trauma is that it often isn't about just theology, right? It is religious trauma, spiritual abuse, church hurt, however we want to phrase it, often affects nervous systems.
Oh,
right?
Yes.
Attachment, sexuality, identity formation, self-trust, all the things, right? So I think where I want to start today, and we'll go back to the purity culture thing, is in your experience, what makes religious trauma unique compared to other forms of trauma?
It's the moral box that you're put in. You're not just, mistakes aren't mistakes. Mistakes are moral failures. You're unrighteous. You're unholy. You've stepped outside of God's prescription for your life. It's big.
Yeah.
And I think it robs you of identity, frankly.
Yeah.
We talk about finding our identity. We talked about whether we use the word Christian or not. I am a Christian because I believe in Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And I follow the teachings of Jesus Christ. That is my desire.
Yep.
And but I think when we talk about that which traumatizes people in that space, it has little to do with grace, with the opportunity to be curious, to ask questions, to have doubts. I think doubt is part of faith.
Yeah.
So I think when you're in a situation, for many that have experienced religious trauma, your opportunity to question has been robbed from you.
Yeah.
And so how do you grow?
Yeah. How do you grow? How do you evolve? Do you think of all the things, right? Because there are so many struggles that I think people that are leaving organized religion or they are starting their deconstruction journey. I think what you just said, is one of the things that they struggle with when they're leaving.
Sure.
What are some other struggles that, you've seen your clients face after they leave religious environments?
Loss of fellowship.
That's a big one.
That's huge.
Which is the whole reason why a lot of people actually link up with religious organizations, because they're trying to find a positive, healthy community. And that word, honestly, I'm sorry, it just makes me want to cringe. That's why I like community.
Okay.
But I get it.
Yeah.
I do get it, because you understand as a licensed therapist, you learned way long ago about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and actually being in community with people, belonging is a part of being human.
It is.
So I understand that. But you saying that one of the things that your clients have struggled with is the loss of fellowship.
They lose it.
Say more about that.
So I have a soapbox.
Get on it, girl. Now's the time to do it.
Now's the time. So I would say a portion of my clientele when I was practicing regularly full time. I see very few clients now, but I still love it. A percentage of my clientele were people who came from church hurt. Religious trauma is a relatively new phrase. They were calling it
Right.
religious trauma at the time.
Right.
Matter of fact, a lot of things we weren't allowing trauma to be. We have a broader understanding of what trauma
Right.
is. But young people from parachurch organizations, and then often adults, I would say, often came from, give myself in some trouble, often came from,
Good trouble.
yeah, it's going to be trouble. We'll see how it turns out. Religious traditions, Christian primarily, because I was known as a Christian counselor, Christian traditions that were more on the charismatic side.
Yeah.
Okay. More expressive.
Yeah, that's the camp I'm from.
Yeah. Yeah. More expressive in their
Gold dust.
Yes.
No rattlesnakes.
As I was
but
reading
gold
part
dust
of
and-
your youthful experience when you first
Ooh,
kind of
Lord.
came to the church. And that whole
Yes.
tarrying and all that type of
Oh,
thing.
the Terry. Yes.
And,
yes.
and
yes.
the pretense that so many
Yeah.
people are living under
Yeah.
because they fear being less than enough, less, right? Not being enough, not being a real, maybe I don't really believe in God, or maybe God doesn't
Yeah.
choose me.
Yeah.
That's the worst. God doesn't choose me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's so crazy because, like, I mean, I'll say as a piggyback to what you're saying, and then I'll let you continue, is like in the book when you're talking about that part where I talked about where I was tearing for the Holy Ghost, like, or, you know, in charismatic circles, Caucasian circles, they call it the Holy Spirit. You know, Pentecostals, we say the Holy Ghost. And so when I was finding myself in that situation, tearing, you know, that came after 2 years after I had gotten baptized in water and didn't feel nothing. Everybody else said that they saw this thing on me, but I'm like, I didn't feel nothing. And then I waited 2 more years to be touched in speaking in tongues. And I mean, I remember it like it was yesterday. And so I said, you know, within myself, like, I felt like something was wrong with me.
What's wrong with you?
Because I never actually like completely believed it. Like even back then, like there was a knowing internally that like this might not be for me. I wasn't like demonizing other people for believing in
no,
it.
I think
And I still don't.
There are those for whom that is very genuine experience,
Yeah.
empowerment, connection.
Of course.
But what if you don't have that particular experience?
You end up faking it like I did.
You fake it, or your belief. What do you believe about yourself in relation to God?
That I am definitely demon possessed, or that, you know, and in order to not be perceived as demon possessed, I need to fake it, or I need to do what I got to do in order to be able to get that. So then it becomes very performative and very works driven.
And what does that do to your opportunity to have a real relationship with God?
Oh, I mean,
it can't.
It can't. You can't. You. I suffered for years. Like, and I also. Here's the thing too. I also suffered not only with my relationship with God, but I also suffered in my other relationships. Which is let me tell you something.
Sure.
And excuse my French, because I curse a little bit.
A little bit. That's okay.
A little bit. Well, a lot of it. But let me just keep it 100.
Keep it.
Some of the shittiest friends that I've ever had have been people who are Christians. I think Christians don't do relationship well.
Wow. Okay, that's a big statement. That's a big statement.
Not all.
No, but I can resonate with that.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of bypassing that happens if you try to share authentic concerns, fears, wounds.
Yes.
Just pray about it, or I think that's bypassing. I think that can happen.
Spiritual bypassing, right? That's your professional term that you would use.
I also think that having worked in Christian environments, they're the most right people in the world. Now, you got this opinion and you've got this opinion, and both of you are convinced that the Holy Spirit gave you that. And this is how do you collaborate? How do you, because I'm right over here because God told me.
Well, it's
And it's
usually
different from
hierarchy.
you over there.
It's usually the one with the hierarchy,
Well,
though. That's right.
For
that
sure.
That they in the, you know.
For sure. I think there are environments where it's not only top down, it's side to side. But who's right? Well, when it's top down, okay, there's this acquiescence, right?
And for me, all my experience, it was always top down.
Okay.
I mean, I never experienced side by side, but like, I mean, the people that like, and this is why I say what I'm getting right. Well, this is why I said what I said about the relationship piece or like bad friends, because aside from like the groupthink and all of that, right? That is harmful to relationships. I have just seen that like you have to earn. It's like you have to do and you just like you can never just be, right?
Yeah.
And I realized like as a part of my healing when I started my mental health journey that like I am a human being, not a human doing.
Yeah.
So when I would show up in my relationships like coming, I don't know, a year into therapy or whatever, it was so tough because they couldn't understand why I wasn't performing anymore. And so I lost a lot of relationships early on, like in my journey and even in, my deconstruction, which is why I say what I say is in my experience, like a lot of my friends, that I lost, it was difficult because they couldn't understand the not doing and the being.
Well, it's risky for them.
I can see that.
Right? Look what you lost. But you were prepared.
Yeah,
you gained much, but you lost.
Oh yeah, I mean
you lost standing, you lost community, you lost paradigm.
Family.
There's That's
it's
big.
a lot. It's a lot.
And I don't know there are a lot of people that can do that.
It's a lot to lose.
Yeah,
it's a lot to lose.
So we were talking about in my clinical experience, what do I see? I mentioned some of the parachurch organizations, which I still think highly of most of them, right? Crew and Young Life and all of these. I still believe in the gospel and they're sharing the gospel and I believe in the truth of that. However, and what they do well, really well, is build community. They find kids are drawn to them that are maybe just on the outskirts or what have you, or they're trained to look for you.
Yeah.
I love that, frankly. But there is this space, and I understand how it gets confused when you're dealing with young people. You want to try to keep them on the path. There are two things that seem to that can take young people off the path: are drugs and sex. You get pregnant, and right?
Right.
And so, I think those sins are elevated. Outsized, I would say, not just elevated, but outsized.
So
as
meaning
the thing
that there's a lot
takes
of
you
emphasis.
Out. There's a lot of emphasis, too much emphasis. There's a whole lot of things.
From your clinical perspective.
From my clinical perspective, from my personal perspective, from my perspective as a parent.
Did your kids go through Young Life?
They didn't do Young Life. They were involved in youth group at church, which was a little bit more grace-filled. I was a little bit more grace-filled.
A little bit more grace-filled.
But I remember one of them in particular trying to choose between Young Life and youth group and sports, and decided, you know what, I just can't make it to that many meetings. We don't have the space to do all of that. And so I'm just going to stay here where I can go and see my people on Sunday or one day a week. So it was a very practical decision for him. But I will say that trying to get back to my clinical experience, and I said it was a percentage of my clientele. I even had a parent tell me one time, this student, I'll say students, came to me, told the parent that they were really struggling with anxiety, thought they might be depressed. They wanted to go see a counselor. They had heard that I was a good counselor, made their way to me. And I remember the way this parent dismissed this child's struggles and said, well, you're a thing. It's a thing to come to you if you're in this particular parachurch organization.
It's a thing?
It's a thing to come to you.
Say more.
I just said you
I'm
were dismissing
curious.
your child. and I'm not for it. I mean, I had a conversation with the parent. There's a way that I onboarded youth, right?
Yeah.
And so I was always in communication with the parent, but I also asked for them to give some space for the kid to be with somebody other than their parent, right? To have some space to talk. So
Right.
I had this conversation with the parent, and I told him, I thought that was highly dismissive. Let's wait and see. And at one point, I actually had a pretty tough conversation with the parent. I says, "Well, I could imagine why your child would be dealing
I mean,
with
yeah.
anxiety." I
Yeah,
had
yeah,
to really.
yeah.
It was one of those. I had needed to match energy in that particular instance. It turned out pretty good in the long run. In the long run, I know this person's an adult. They actually check in with me every now and then, and they're doing fine. But I. So if in your natural path of moving through adulthood and navigating high school, you dabble, you have feelings, and no one, remember, you're in this Christian environment where no one has really told you how to deal with this, with your physiology, with your thoughts,
How
with your
things work.
emotions, how things work. Why is this urge in relationship with this person that I like? All you hear is don't, and maybe you do. And now, because of the culture, you confess to your leader or to your friends, and they may surround you or they may reject you. And so I have seen young people who feel like they are already less than because they've done one or two of the big ones, who need that community more than ever to be able to say, I understand that, blah, 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 blah. Let me give you some thinking points, or let me give you some support, or let me whatever. They are excluded. And so now they've lost community. They feel like they're this unredeemed sinner on their own. What do you think that's going to do with them in terms of what kind of choices are available for them to make? They're probably going to double down because this is the only place where I found relationship.
Well, I mean,
And I may not be ready for it.
well, and
Right?
to be honest, I mean, if this is what it cost me to be open and to be vulnerable, it teaches them to lie
Yeah.
and never be vulnerable.
Yeah.
I think, like I
can.
was so interesting because like us talking about this is me thinking about I was never a part of like Young Life. I don't even know if it was a thing when I was in school, but I did have, youth church or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the constructs that I grew up with was like, being on fire for God and you know, I don't know. I smirk at that because I'm just like, what is your, as a business person, you'll understand this term. Like, what is your return on investment? Like, where's my ROI on that? Like, what exactly do I have to do to make you know that, like, I am on fire for God? So, in my church culture, that looked like, I mean, the memes that we see on Instagram right now about deconstruction that, people are actually poking fun at it, but it's like true where like you've got these red-faced little Caucasian kids crying out and they're like, I mean, with their guts, they're like, oh, and tears and like equivalent to like a woman who would be like travailing in labor. That was what we were taught that we needed to do.
Okay.
In Pentecostalism,
Okay.
in our prayer, and I was just like, listen, I'm not a big proponent of like looking cool and all that. I don't care about all that. That wasn't why it was a no for me. It was a no because it never felt authentic.
But when did it become the no? So you had this season. I don't know how much of your life. Sounds like you were young.
I was
you were in
deeply,
adulthood.
I mean, I was
before
adulting.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, well, there was always a dissonance.
Okay.
And I know, I mean, it was always a dissonance.
Yeah.
There was always a dissonance in me. And I think that a lot of people, even people who haven't deconstructed fully, but who are on the fence or on the verge of it, they would probably say that they deal with this dissonance internally where it's like, okay, I'm being told that this is the way to God, but this does not feel authentic to me. And so they're always dissonant or like in like this confused place of like, do I honor what I've been taught and travail and be on fire for God in a way that doesn't feel authentic? And is that what God, who created me to be who I am, would want from me? I don't believe that God would want me to be inauthentic to myself.
If God, this is how I feel. If God created you individually, and I believe that he did, on purpose.
Yeah.
For probably multiple purposes.
Yes.
Then God will communicate to you in the way that God created your brain to receive communication from him.
Yes.
You know, I think of how I think creatives experience the world differently than those who are more concrete thinkers.
Yeah.
There are just ways you're going to, a creative is going to express or understand or express reality, truth. I consider myself somewhat of a creative, right? So I look out here and I'm going to see shades and textures and light. And I feel I have an array of things I see looking out your beautiful window.
Yeah.
Someone who's a more concrete thinker is going to maybe appreciate the structure that's framing the picture. This, look at the trim around the windows. And that's all absolutely valuable, amazing vision, right?
Yeah.
But it's different.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to speak to the person who's measuring about shades, shading of light. And so if God is the creator, if that is my belief, that God is the creator, and I am a created being of God on purpose, then I'm going to let him talk to me the way God's going to talk to me.
I mean, yeah, like I've always been very mystical. And, you know, I reject, you know, and always have rejected. Like I would be one of those teenagers that would be like, you know, anybody that is like 45, 44, we all know what YM magazine is. It stands for Young and Modern, but I had a subscription to Young and Modern and I would always read the horoscope in the back. I would sneak and read it. And so I, as a youngster, was always really intrigued by the zodiac. And that did not go anywhere. I've always been intrigued by it. I've always been intrigued by numerological, like the numbers. And I think that numbers are important to spirit. I do. And I think that numbers hold significance, and they hold significance to me, the time that I was born, where I was born, how this. So like for me, God has always spoke to me in like signs.
Okay.
And there was a time like, you know, I talked about this on another interview where like dragonflies were following me everywhere. And I went to like do the research, because I'm a researcher too, where I wanted to see what the spiritual significance of that was. Why out of all the flowers in the world, lotus flowers speak to me? Why, you know, and so I say all that to say, to go back to the original point, that I always felt very much like I was wrestling with what I was taught and with what it was authentically for me.
Here's what it's maybe becoming an overused phrase right now, but more than one thing can be true at the same time. You talk about numerology was interesting to you.
Yeah.
Why is that antithetical to your Christian? Numbers are mentioned all over the Bible.
I don't know.
All over the Bible.
I have
Seven's
no idea.
supposed to be a significant number, and right. So it doesn't have to be.
Ironically, 7 is my spiritual life path number.
I don't know what that means.
Well,
right? For
I know,
you,
right?
But I think,
like a lot of people don't know.
I don't,
like, you know, like I did a whole deep dive of it, but it's cool.
It's like a number of completion or something like that.
Yeah, it's 777 is like, and I have it tatted on me, and for significance, but like it is, you know, sevens, people who are sevens. I mean, it kind of is very similar to like anybody who studied the Enneagram. Like there's different schools of thought that kind of say human design. Like I'm kind of into that, you know, because it's the chakra system and, you know, all those different things. But at any rate, I say that because like, it's true. I'm a seeker, a truth seeker. And so like, I'm always searching, and, you know, and on this journey. And so, like, I think that was present in my youth. And I think it's just really interesting to hear you from like a clinical and parental, even somebody who's raised their kids, but like you you don't know it, but you're like validating me in a way of like, you know, this is pretty normal for like, I hear for people, young people, to kind of go through this place of questioning.
Here's my thing. Do we believe what we say we believe? Though I'm also church kid, right? All of that, right? And but that's often my question to myself. Do I believe what I say I believe? Do I believe that God is God and I am not God? That the universe is intelligently designed and I didn't design it. I believe I'm part of the design, but I didn't design it. Do I believe in a God that is big enough to deal with my curiosity? God gave me a mind.
Yeah.
And I still say he. Like there are things that are just part. I believe God is spirit. God is not necessarily a man.
Not necessarily binary male, female. Right. Yeah.
That doesn't bother me. You know, so I don't fixate on that.
Right, correct.
But because I don't know everything. And I shouldn't know everything, but I can be curious about everything.
Yeah.
And if God is big enough, she's curious. Let's see what we can reveal to her.
I know God says that about me.
Oh, absolutely.
I know he does. I say it to myself. I believe in my heart that he says this about that. Well, I say they because I just do. But I've learned to say that for myself, right? Because like I don't have the best parental examples. So like in my life, like as like, you know, it's hard for me to identify God with male or female, mom or dad.
Okay.
So I just say they, spirit, source, is
you all right? I saw a moment. You okay?
Oh, I'm great. I mean, I'm just thinking about it, like the freedom to be able to say that.
Okay.
For a long time, I used to like be so scared to say it and to stand in that truth, even though it might not be somebody else's truth. But I just believe God is so big and so broad that she, they can't be boxed in. So, you know, I've been saying this thing, like, as I've been talking to different people, and I said, listen, like, a lot of times people leave the church physically. I know this is true for me. I physically left the church long before I emotionally left it.
Okay.
So do you think that it is true when someone is starting their deconstruction, they leave the church physically, they're not attending, but their emotions are still connected to it?
I think it could be either way. It depends on the individual's experience. It depends on what do you have to protect. So for you, it makes sense to me that emotionally it took longer to pull away. There's so much tied into that for you. There's not just religious trauma.
It's
there's
a family
trauma. There's identity trauma. There's a number of things tied up in that. I think, and I share with you, I'm on a bit of a deconstruction journey, but I think that's a good word. As a clinician, that's what I want us to do, whether we're talking about religion or not. Let's break this down to elements. Right? Let's break this thing that you brought that you're wrestling with down to elements. And then we can rebuild based on, so those elements are belief systems. Let's sort out what's lies, what's absolute truths, what you want to keep. So that when you rebuild, you can rebuild based on values that you choose and align with. That's deconstruction. Now that it's applied to religion, like, cool. But the process to me is healthy.
It's a construct.
It's a construct. And I think it's a great picture. I love the construct, right? We're talking about concrete thinkers and artists. Like, there's not a building that's made without, you got to go all the way back to a blueprint. All the way back to a blueprint.
And let me say this. Let me even go further than that. When we talk about deconstruction, we talk about purity culture, right? I've even challenged myself to like, it wasn't enough for me to just deconstruct or even decolonize religion. So listen,
that's a whole thing.
Well, that's a whole other
thing.
So, but no, but the thing is that the decolonization of religion ties so much into purity culture because of what we're experiencing right now, the climate that we're living in. But what one word I'll say before we go back into that about the deconstruct or deconstructing something, taking it apart. I realized when I was deconstructing that I was left with just the foundation. And there was cracks in the foundation, girl. So then,
good thing you found them.
Well, good thing I
deconstructed.
Well,
you would have found the notes.
What the thing is that I had a breakdown, so that's why I was able to find them.
Okay. Yeah.
So the cracks in the foundation was what started shaking the house.
You know, I love good metaphor.
I know, girl.
Or simile. I don't know what it is, but whatever.
I don't even know what it is. Analogy, metaphor, whatever. But like the cracks in the foundation is what began to shake the house. And so I started taking it apart. Like, where is this coming from? Well, I get down to my foundation, and the foundation was cracked. Now I tried to patch up the foundation. But then I had to dig a little deeper.
Sometimes you got to jackhammer that.
And realize that the foundation only cracked because the ground that the foundation was built upon wasn't the right ground. So then I went further and I had to excavate that. And as I excavated it, I'm like, oh, snap.
That shit's expensive.
That shit's expensive. It's costly.
Yeah.
Cost me a lot.
Yes.
But then guess what else?
What?
I also had to like realize this ain't good ground. I gotta pick up and move and go to a whole other plot of land.
Okay. Wow. All right. Girl, work this. Okay.
And so this is the analogy that I use when I talk about my process of deconstruction. It wasn't just me deconstructing something. I went through that, found the foundation crack, did all of that, and only to realize that I can't even build on the same land. I had to go. Hence the estrangement.
Highly, highly costly.
Yes. And
so you've moved.
I moved.
And now what?
And now
we
sit here and we're like, okay, we're filming this and like, you know, we're and like, so these thoughts around my body and it being evil and me like and sex and all these things started to come to surface in midlife when I hit like perimenopause. I started realizing some things, which is when a lot of women do start realizing these things. And so I'm in this particular phase of my life where I'm 45, I'll be 46 in a month. And I'm like, wow, like the latter part of writing this book was when the sexual purity culture stuff started to shift. That was the last bit of it.
So you think that's related to how you've had to study your body during this season?
Oh,
is that
100%.
what you're saying?
I think I've had, and I think that's why this topic is so emotionally like connected to me, and why it's so important for me to get this out to our girls and our boys and men and women who are younger and earlier in their deconstruction, right? So I feel like coming up, purity culture was framed as sexually dangerous. Like that was
morally dangerous.
And morally dangerous, sexually dangerous.
Just for your life. Like
yes. Like contaminating. Like, you know, Joshua Harris wrote the book I Kissed Dating Goodbye.
Yeah.
You're nodding.
I remember that book.
It was a very familiar book.
I remember the book.
I was just like, I remember reading the book and it was set like the standard for me. Like, I don't know if I could not kiss anybody until I get married. Like, I got to know something. I got to know I got to know that there's some kind of connection, some kind of chemistry. So I read the book and I'm telling you instantly, I felt a hint of like hope and a hint of shame. Because I'm like, shame, because like, I don't think I'm going to be able to live up to his standard. Like, well, you know as well as I do, he's deconstructed. He's since taken the book out of publication. Yep. I've written about it in my book.
Yeah. Okay.
And I used the book to hang my little holy hat on
Mm.
back in the day, right? Just like most of us did. But that messaging has such long-term psychological effects. And I'd like for you to break that down a little bit.
Oh goodness.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I like to try to build the house a little bit. Well, when you're talking about sexuality, when you're talking, so you got your physical body, there's all these sensations unexplained to you. How do you put them in context? They're meant for bonding. Are they meant for procreation? Depends on what kind of messaging. Yes, and right. Yes, and but you're often put in one camp or the other. The everything is. I think what the church has done wrong, what the opportunities they've missed, even based on their own standards, is cut off the ability to talk about them. So you push people outside of the church to find the answers because the church hasn't made it safe. Church doesn't choose to investigate, to have answers. So we give this rule, that rule, this rule, that rule, but we're not a list you can check off.
Yeah.
We're a plethora of things that all mix in together. And what time? Your adolescence.
Yeah.
It's probably got more going on during your adolescence than any other time. You have the most questions, the most grace, the most guidance, the most freedom to ask questions.
Yeah.
Is it true that drugs or sex, should it result in a pregnancy you're not prepared for, or disease, or what have you, take you off a path? Absolutely. There's a reason why they're kind of the big two.
Yeah.
In everything, you don't have to. What's the old phrase? You don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah.
Yes, and.
Yes, and.
Yes, and. There's not room for yes, and. It's no or. Period.
Well, that's religious thinking.
That is religious thinking. That is
black or white.
I think the intention. Is protection. That's what I do think the intention is.
You do.
To preserve and protect so that you get to live the life that God has caused you to live. I don't think the parachurch organizations, for which I have some criticism, nor church in and of itself, church culture in and of itself, I don't think it's all bad. I think there's place for it. And I think there are those who grew up in these spaces who are perfectly healthy and feel fulfilled in their relationship with themselves and with God as well as reasonably healthy. I think none of us are perfectly anything.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to put a big old scarlet letter or demonize those structures because they also can create this need to hide or to pretend, or this very community that they claim to, the body of Christ, the church family. We throw the word family around in everything that's supposed to be good, and here we're a family of so and so. For you, that's a dangerous analogy, right? And it doesn't it doesn't take any of that though into consideration.
Yeah,
family's dangerous, but it's also beautiful because you've built one.
Well, right,
that's different from the one you came from.
Yeah,
right. There's family in and of itself is wonderful.
Well, it's just what you're saying is, and this is how I'm hearing it. So, like, what I'm hearing you say when you say the both and or the yes and is that religious constraints, institutions do present most times with black and white binary thinking. When people start to question, heal, deconstruct, all of that, and they kind of try to figure it out on their own, it kind of leads them into more gray, more ambiguity. The thing that I've learned is that it's very difficult to just stay in the gray and the ambiguity. So what I've learned now, as I've kind of gone a little bit deeper into healing from all of this, is I now see the spectrum of colors and possibility. You have the feelings wheel, and it has all kinds of colors on there.
It does.
And I see all those colors, and I see even more of all the possibilities. And so saying that, I guess my next question for you would be, what is a way that these organizations that these young people are drawn to could teach sexuality in a healthy way?
First of all, they gotta be willing, right? That's a whole. There's risk in changing, right? So you've got to have leadership that is willing to say maybe there's a better way. Maybe we're not actually protecting our youth. Maybe we're not. Maybe the way that we're approaching sexuality and how we teach it is excluding kids and not bringing them into and empowering them to make decisions that are best for their lives. I can agree. But for the most part, it probably makes sense to wait until you're mature to have sex.
Yeah.
Sex is powerful.
But you said mature, not married.
I said mature. I think marriage is still the best scenario for which to have sex.
But not for religious reasons.
Not for religious reasons.
What are your reasons?
It's powerful. It's bonding. But for most of us, it's fraught with unanswered questions, unhealed wounds, misinformation, all of those things. And so you're going to end up with broken people getting together with broken people. And but I think there's a space for healing there. How to better teach it? I think to allow for spaces for questioning, to go get some learning.
Well,
go get some learning.
That part, right?
How about we do that? How about we celebrate your questions rather than fear your questions?
Yeah.
How about we say, I think my mother was beyond her years. In that I could talk freely about sex with my mother.
No, you told me that.
Yeah. Now she did set a paradigm. She said, when you have sex with your husband.
Right.
And she built this anticipation but she also said, but if you make another decision, because I see your body, and I get those things. And we talked about, I was way prepared for my cycle and all of that long before it happened.
Yeah.
I remember actually my little sister, this is back in the olden days when the pads were huge and the box was in the linen cabinet in a closet for so long. My sister used them for like Barbie beds. So she would
hilarious.
So I had to pick lint off when it was
that is hilarious, but awful for you guys.
It was fine. I knew what to do.
Right.
I came home from school. Mom wasn't home. The supplies were there.
And
I knew what to do. And I told her when she came home, and Dad had to go buy some fresh ones. I got through that one that I had to pick off a little bit. It was fine. And then happened. But I knew what to do.
Yeah.
I wasn't afraid. I was prepared.
Yeah.
She also said, though, to me around sex, she said, but if you make a different decision, this is how I want you to protect yourself. I want you to be prepared for that as well. You can go to the doctor. This is his name. And you can talk to him about birth control.
So it was like a message of empowerment.
It was. I prefer you wait. I think that's best for you. But I understand how the world works.
Yeah.
And I also understand you, Dave. You're very curious, very much a physical touch person.
Yeah.
I think she probably thought it probably ain't likely you're going to make it, but she didn't tell me that.
Right,
of course. But I looked forward to when I get to have sex with my husband,
Yeah.
And I didn't feel in a hurry to get a husband either.
Because it was never presented to you.
I wasn't afraid. It wasn't this forbidden thing. Because if you decide to,
right,
this is how you manage yourself.
She didn't say that this was the only way that you could. And so, see, for me, I when you and we were preparing for this, right? We had that conversation, and I told you that I was not a virgin when I got married.
Neither was I.
And I was very young when I did that, and and I'm like stuttering because when I first initially talked to you about it, I said lost my virginity.
You did,
and you, in your clinical mind, poked me and said, "See how you said lost?" Because I wasn't saying it in an empowering way. I was 14. I had a real jacked up family situation. But I can't only blame my jacked up family situation on, that was a big proponent of it.
Sure.
But I was super curious.
Mm-hmm.
All of my friends were doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to know what this felt like. And so that helped me make the decision to do it. And, it's interesting because I very much knew what I was doing in terms of like the decision I was making. And I also was very careful about it.
Yeah.
I was, careful in terms of like, I ain't gonna get no babies. I ain't gonna get no diseases. We're gonna use protection.
So you planned for it?
I did.
Okay.
It wasn't something that just like we were hanging out and then all of a sudden it just happened.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Okay.
I knew exactly what I was going to do that Saturday, and I was ready for it.
Okay.
And I was very mature about it. My parents didn't find out until I was 17. So 3 years after the fact, the guy that I actually was with at 14, his new person let the cat out the bag because she was trying to get even with me. But that was how they found out. I was very intentional about never letting my...
So it happened at 14 and not after? It didn't become a thing that did... Because I'm like, well, why did they find it out? I'm just thinking, like, okay, this is... Did you live in 3 years of shame, or did you like...
Nah, I mean, listen, no. I didn't... Okay, no.
Sorry.
So, put me on blast. My goodness, not the therapist put me on blast.
I'm trying to understand.
Okay, so let me break it down for you.
I mean, parents
hell.
To that.
Okay, so no. Okay.
Because I know some of the shaming that happened to you after that.
Well, right. So like, no. So here we go. So I did that at 14 and, like fiddled around, with other things like in between 14 and 17. But I've never been like sexually, like in a sexually active relationship.
Okay.
Until I got
until married. You got married.
Because I was in church.
Sure.
And so that was fornication. And I was the worship leader from the age of 19 all the way up until 25, 24. So me and, whoever I dated, I had one boyfriend before I met my husband. We dated for 3 years. It was one of those things where, you mess around a little bit, but like, I'm the worship. I was like, I don't want to be doing this. I just always had this dissonance. And then when I met the man I was going to marry, it got a little harder.
It does.
Right? But me and Michael, we did not sleep together before we were married. He and I were both very committed to just waiting until our wedding night. And we did. Now, was it easy? No. Were we completely blameless? Absolutely not.
Sure.
Like
Eric
and I
was similar.
Yeah, I mean, we messed around
for 3 years in college without, and then made personal commitments, and then stopped after 3 years of having.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Stopped for 2.5 years until we got married.
Yeah.
So
fortunately,
talk about that. You'd already tasted the fruit.
And then
you just...
I didn't have that.
Stop.
I didn't have that situation with Michael when we were
but it was
dating,
by mutual,
but I get it.
We both chose. We thought it was best. I mean, certainly was religious prescription, but it was by mutual consent, and we agreed. We wanted. We felt we were going to set up our marriage for the best. Best setup for our marriage. I think it's for us that was true.
And that's what I'm saying. It was a decision that Michael and I mutually made together. Now it's interesting because I'm parenting, a 15-year-old and an 18-year-old. And, do I think that they're going to make the same decision? I don't know. But the way that I parent, it's not my business, really. Honestly, it's their sexual lives. Right. The one thing that I have, really have always told both of the kids is I've been very honest about my story. And I've told them that it's their body. They get to choose. I would just say that you be responsible.
Mhm.
And if at any point you decide to make that decision, come and have a conversation with me and or your dad so that we can make sure that we put you in the best position possible so that we don't end up with babies, diseases,
Mhm.
and all
Or
of that.
you with heartache and heartbreak and I mean, I think some of that's bound to happen as a part of
Well,
moving through,
right. Because, yeah.
but still, I do
So
too.
the one thing that I have talked to my daughter about is very much what you just said to me about the heartbreak.
Mhm.
I said to her, I said, how will you feel? This is the question that you need to ask yourself always. Am I going to be okay with this person being a part of my story for the rest of my life?
Mm,
I said,
that is
because
a
as
great
your first
question.
sexual experience, first kiss, first anything, you will always
Always.
remember
Yep.
that
Yep.
person,
You will.
those people.
Yep.
And for a girl in particular, there's something that happens, emotionally with that. And so that was the thing that I did talk to my daughter about. Even when it came down to our first kisses, I was just like, yo, like, make sure that it's worth it. Make sure that he's worth it,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And secondly, I would say to her, that I would want this person that she's with to make her feel as cherished,
Mm-hmm.
as adored, and as safe as they can possibly, make her feel. And so, I mean, when you think about it, she's 15. There's not a lot of 15, 16-year-olds that can measure up to those
That's right.
things.
Mm-hmm.
So that conversation with my daughter started, though,
Mm-hmm.
when she was around 10, 11 years old.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very good. Yep.
And so
Yep.
I am parenting her, and I parented my son very different than I was parented. I never really gave them a biblical prescription for it. I actually researched, and research does not lie. It says that you are better off to wait until you are older.
Sure.
From a psychological perspective,
Mm-hmm.
before you engage in any kind of sexual activity.
And there's bonding
With other
that
people.
happens. Yes,
right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So
Mm-hmm.
it was one of those conversations that, like, I was glad that I was able to have that with her.
I'm glad you did. I don't think I was that thorough with my boys. I think we raised them in more churchy environment,
Yeah,
an
absolutely.
evangelical environment
Yeah.
than I was raised in, although I was raised going to church.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about it. Purity culture
Yeah.
wasn't so much the thing.
Of course. It wasn't
I
even
think
called
it was
that
still
back then.
it wasn't called that. I think it was still an expectation or hope or what have you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wish I had given a more comprehensive um, answer or left more room for conversation with my kids. I think I was more ready for it
Mhm.
than my husband was. We grew
Yeah.
up in different places,
Of course.
but we have sons and you want to be the one, and so I kind of outsourced that to him, and I think he loves them and did the best that he could.
Yeah.
And there were gaps, and we should have done that together.
Do you think that purity culture, in the way that we've been talking about it,
Mhm.
how it was taught to me, how it was maybe taught to your boys and
Mhm.
these other young people that you would treat or see,
Mhm.
right? Do you think that purity culture, when it's done that way, has a negative impact on marriages?
I do.
In what
You're
way?
unprepared.
Yeah, you're unprepared.
You never made decisions.
Right.
You never
Right.
question your own.
You don't even, I mean, you don't.
There are no people to go to
I
talk to
know.
about these things.
Yeah.
I do. I do. I
It's
think it definitely
interesting.
has that potential. I don't know.
Yeah.
Both of my sons are married, or have been married. One is ending their marriage, but so I don't know specifically anything about that.
Yeah.
They're grown. That's not my
Of
place unless
course,
somebody
of
brings that
course,
to
yeah.
me. But I think the potential is there.
Yeah.
You'll talk about it from a a macro level, like you asked the question, I'm like, yeah, I think it does. I think it
I mean, if you
absolutely.
think about it, right? Like,
Mhm.
and I'll just say a couple things and then maybe you could piggyback off of it. But like, when I think about that question, my answer would be like yours. Yes, I think it does.
Mhm.
Because you have these men
Mhm.
who are sexually repressed
Mhm.
and who have been taught that the woman that they marry, her body doesn't belong to her once they married her, right?
Mhm.
So you've got all of that sexual repression. I mean, in some places, some of them are deviant.
Mhm.
You've seen that play out in the news cycle lately.
Mhm. And this move back to
Uh, yes,
it's something
yes,
else
yes,
out of fear and control.
yes.
Mhm.
And then you've got
Mhm.
the woman. So the man is like sexually repressed. Woman's body is not her own. Once I marry her, ready to pounce. Then you've got over here this woman who has been taught to be meek, to be quiet, to be chaste. And then all of a sudden, when she says, I do, turn it on for your husband. But she doesn't know how.
Mhm.
For her whole life, she's been taught to be a prude.
Mhm. Mhm.
Now, I'm not saying that all of us
Mhm. Sure.
heeded to that teaching.
Sure.
I did not.
Sure.
You did not, right?
Mhm.
I'm sure
Mhm.
several women did not.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I also would say that it's not always the case that when you're raised that way that you're a prude. You might have an inner freak that comes out, right?
Yeah.
But what I hear,
Mhm.
the vast majority of these young ladies are like, oh, wait a minute, back up. Like, this is all you want. And they have these emotional needs
Mhm.
that are not being attuned to, that are not being met. But I'm ready to pounce because
Oh
you're
well.
mine.
Well, what about the man who is not ready to pounce, but he
Ooh.
thinks that he should because that's what a man
I
does?
like how you turned that. I like that. Okay, say more.
I just think there's not room for individuation in that.
Hmm.
Every man isn't, I remember being taught in premarital classes. Well, if a man has 500 thoughts a day, 489 of them are about sex, and you've just got to give to your man. You've got blah 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 blah. But what if your man doesn't have? What if he's got room to think about other stuff?
Good point.
Or what if there's just these prescriptions, these funnels, these silos that our identity, our sexuality, our desires, our intellect are put in, harms everybody in the long run.
I love that you brought that up. That is such a good and necessary perspective because that is not what you see portrayed. You
Mm-mm.
do see portrayed what we see on the news right now.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
see
yeah.
hundreds of pastors being and faith leaders, if you're not
And
a pastor,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
being convicted for
It's
these.
power. It's power.
And so when I think about it, I mean, I'm just like, yeah, I mean, I guess it could because I remember getting married and this whole time I've been like saving, 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 waiting, 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 waiting. It's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Then all of a sudden you get married and to go from it's wrong to it's right, it's right.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that it's right,
The more the
but
better.
the more the better. And you're like, wait, what? Like,
You went from you can't do anything to the marriage bed is undefiled. You
and
can
I'm
do
just
anything.
like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
wait, like,
Yeah.
I was so
You
confused by
weren't
that.
prepared for a transition.
I was so
Yeah,
confused
yeah.
about that. And I'm like, I'm not saying that I should have been in college, like having my whole days.
Yeah.
Like, that's not, what I mean? That's not what I'm trying to say. But I was so confused. I was not ready
Yeah,
for that.
yeah. See
Like,
how much outside perspective
yeah,
was in your bedroom on your wedding night. and how many expectations had nothing to do with you and Michael, but who you thought you were supposed to be.
Listen.
Right? So when you think about men, and we can do a whole show on this, right? They're really only allowed a couple of emotions. Rage and lust. Maybe ambition, if that's an emotion. So you don't get to be insecure or afraid or have questions about what if he's not experienced? He's got to act like he is. He's got to lead on the wedding night. But how do you do all of that without some inauthenticity, some falseness, or some sense of I'm failing? Am I doing it right? Rather than it being curiosity and we'll figure it out as we go along. I remember for us, Eric probably kill me because he would say I talk too much, but I remember our wedding night. We've been waiting. Remember, we'd had taste for a couple of years and we stopped.
Right.
And then here's the wedding night, and we're like exhausted.
Yeah.
Neither one of us wanted to. And I remember he looked at that dress. He's like, "Are all these buttons?"
Girl.
Like,
Michael wanted to cut me out my dress.
Listen, we went to sleep, got a snack. We're like, is it okay if we try tomorrow morning? Like, neither one of us.
Yeah.
We were tired.
Yeah.
And then there's all of this anticipation, all this expectation, and it's supposed to be fireworks. Listen, we were capable of fireworks.
I mean, first of all, you're tired. You didn't greet it. If you're an introvert like me,
well, I'm not an introvert, so you know.
Well, I was
still
low.
His was low. I'm glad that we allowed each other that we could at least say.
I think that's beautiful.
He's like, you want a sandwich? I would rather have a sandwich. Let's just have a sandwich.
Right.
We'll try later. Take a nap, maybe try later, because it took about 20 minutes to get out of this dress.
Yeah. Right. And now I can finally breathe.
Even get in the room. I'm in the lobby, and everybody's, all right, and we want to take pictures. Like, we couldn't even get to our room.
Yeah.
It just couldn't be. And I can imagine, had we not been able to say to each other, had I not been able to free him to not have to lead and make me, all of this stuff, we would have we have a cute story about our wedding night. To us, it's just
I love that,
rather than pressure or failure.
I love
or whatever.
That. Yeah. I mean, it's like, I just remember it, both of us, again, Michael and I, so we're both pastors' kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, part of our love story, he always tells people that our marriage was arranged, but it wasn't, right? But he's always joking about that. And so the guy, one of his closest friends at the time, super, super religious back then. I'll never forget it. He says, the angels are going to be rejoicing, but they'll be jealous of you tonight. And I'm like, and Michael told me this, and I was just looking at him, and I was just like,
ew.
Like, that's weird. And we both just kind of laughed it off, right? The guy was being funny. So it was like no harm, no foul, right?
Yeah.
But I remember us just like anticipating, being able to be together. And it had been quite some time for him and definitely a long time for me. So, it was a very sweet experience. But I'll tell you this, and I was hesitating as you were talking whether or not I was going to share this, because this is something that I didn't put in the book.
Okay. Ooh, I got an exclusive.
Yeah, you got an exclusive on this couch. But it's a therapist, and you didn't bring it out of the But I remember the morning after, I get on the phone with my father. And instead of the question being, are you okay? How are you feeling? Me and my dad knew I wasn't a virgin, right? But he knew I wasn't out there like hoeing around. So like, obviously, you know, he knew that there was probably like some nerves there. Like, how did you feel? Like, just as a father, like I felt like that would have been appropriate, and I would have definitely appreciated it. Instead, I was met with the question, was he pleased with you?
Oh my goodness. Oh wow. Okay.
And that's a
I'm so
story that I've
sorry.
held like really deep
Yeah.
inside my heart for a really
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah.
Um, I'm saying it
Mm.
now in hopes of, you know, not only healing and freeing myself, but also just letting the people that are watching and listening know that, like, when I talk about purity culture and I talk about like how deep it goes, that's how deep it goes for me. And so just the reinforcement that how I felt and I mattered, that I didn't matter,
Yeah. Yeah.
was reinforced. And that it was all about my husband. And that was heartbreaking.
Absolutely.
And I
I
think,
just think, it feels to me like the audacity of your father to ask that question
well,
is
and
just,
I think I pushed back a little bit and I just was like, I mean, that's personal. Whereas the other questions, if he would have said, how are you? Like, I think I would have been okay. But the fact that it was the other question, it hurt me so bad. And I just remember being so defensive that I pushed back and I tried to stand up. I tried to stand my ground as a 26-year-old woman and say, well, that's kind of personal. And what I got after that was, I'm your father and I can ask you whatever I want to. So don't you ever tell me that it's none of my business.
that's interesting to me that even in his paradigm, that he didn't know that he had relinquished you to your husband. Right?
Interesting, right?
Right? I would think that he now steps back in this power dynamic. He steps back. And so if that was a real question,
Yeah.
then you ask it to Michael. It's not a real question. It's an inappropriate question. It's all the things that it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
But even in his own paradigm, that was out of line. That's what I remember our day when we came back to the house the next day because I got married Christmas weekend, so family coming to town, they were still there. And I remember being so embarrassed because we walk in and everybody applauds.
Right. Everybody knowing, like, wink, 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 like.
We're not, I know Eric was like mortified.
Yeah,
I'm cracking up, but he was like mortified. And my aunt, who's gone now, Aunt Kay, she had a whole, what did you wear? Did you wear a peignoir? And was it da da da? And I was like, nah, we didn't get to that. Okay. Oh, you didn't get to it. I'm like, we went to sleep.
Right, and had a sandwich.
We had a sandwich. She was so disappointed. I'm like, okay, are you like?
We got the rest of our lives, hopefully, right?
So she was good.
Yeah.
We laughed about it later, but she was just like, what's the tea? What's the juice? Or whatever the word would be at that time. Like, we had a lovely night for us. It was a great wedding. We took a nap and a sandwich and had a beautiful morning in Tyler.
Yeah.
Something like that. But she was funny. Did you wear? Which one did you wear? And did you unveil? She had this whole fantasy. I'm like, did y'all do all that? Hold on, wait a minute. Who got out of that big old dress?
How did you feel when you were asked those questions? Did you feel okay because it was your aunt and you knew it was coming from an excited, loving, curious place? Or did you feel affronted?
That particular aunt, I felt always affronted a bit by her, but it was, I wasn't offended. She was, everybody knew I had a good guy, and she was just, Aunt Kay was being Aunt Kay. So we just let our kid be okay.
We let on K be on K.
Yeah. I love them.
Well,
Yeah.
as we begin to like wrap up our conversation, first of all, this has been amazing. Just your wisdom, as a mom, as a wife, but then also your expertise as a licensed therapist. This is a big conversation right now.
Yeah, it is. The things I'm hearing in the news, what's his name? The health and Oz now
Oh
talking
yeah,
about the under baby. I heard some crass comments
yeah,
from
yeah.
a news reporter. It just this tendency to what's the show with the red gowns and the
Oh,
white hats? A
um,
Handmaid's
Handmaid's
Tale. Let me
Tale.
tell you.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
I know.
know if art's imitating life or life's imitating art, but we're moving in a strange place where questions are even more being shut down. I feel for young people and where they're going to go for their answers rather than there being a place for safe adults is out there. It's in the internet, it's with the friends, it's with us. We have relinquished, the church itself has relinquished authority in that space
Yeah,
by shutting down conversation and then demonizing the students, the kids who go elsewhere for their answers because they couldn't come to you,
correct. I mean, that's I
couldn't come
mean,
to you,
that's typically
and that's
how it is.
so now you force this, and then you point fingers at that. You didn't enter the
100%.
conversation.
Correct. So I would ask you as we close, what do you think a healthier alternative is? Instead of don't have sex before you're married
Mm-hmm.
or you'll ruin yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How would you reframe that?
I would. This is about this book my mom read me when I was a little kid. It was such a sanitized book with these little, you know, peachy colored people. It started with the chickens and the this and the that, describing, how babies were made.
Yeah, life
I think it was
comes to
called How
be.
Babies Are Made kind
Uh-huh.
of thing. And it's a goofy book. But what I love was that let's start with biology. Let's
Yeah,
talk about what's going to go on in your body.
yeah,
Like, don't let your 12-year-old wake up with a wet dream and never heard about what it was.
yeah,
Be like
yeah,
my
yeah,
mom,
yeah.
where I was prepared for my period at 10 years old and I didn't have it till 13. Let's just start having these conversations, but you've got to first. I don't know where it starts because there's so much culturally, if you're talking about within religious circles, so to speak, there's so much that has to change in regard to openness. My hope is because we're not being parented by our parents
Yeah,
or their parents. The kids of today, those that are wrestling with these questions, are parented by you,
yeah,
right? And you and others in your age group are more informed, are more worldly, are more able to answer these questions, to enter into conversations where your kids can ask these questions. So I think there's hope
yeah,
um, for a large segment of our population, whether or not they're deconstructing.
yeah,
I think parents of your generation are more open in general.
yeah,
And so I think the outcomes for many will be better. When I say outcomes, being empowered young people
yeah.
who understand about their body,
Hmm.
who are paying attention to changes, who can talk about what does this mean,
Yeah.
where a little boy doesn't wake up and think there's something wrong with him because he has an erection or a girl has a period and freaks
Right,
out because
right.
somebody told
Yeah,
her.
yeah,
Those things shouldn't be happening anymore. But
yeah,
that's all part of the soup that created the me's and the you's. And
yeah,
I think there are more and more. I imagine if I talk to many of my girlfriends, I have a lot of my girlfriends are your age. They're having more balanced conversations with their kids, and I would say the vast majority of them also would identify as Christ followers.
yeah.
And so I'm hopeful.
That makes me happy.
I'm very hopeful. Yeah.
Um, Bringing it back full circle to the religious trauma and spiritual abuse piece.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what would you want somebody, or what would you want to tell somebody on how they can rebuild trust within themselves after years of external control.
Wow. Again, being a therapist, I deal in individual stories, right? So there's a lot of background I would need to tease out to deconstruct. But what I would want to do is to encourage them that to look at that which scares you is not going to kill you, it's going to empower you to really um, to question even authority. You can question authority and not be a rebellious person.
Yeah.
You can. Like there's that. I stay in that space of the truth is somewhere in the tension.
Yeah.
So what we do is we run from the tension, and the tension is a good thing. The tension is what allows you to wrestle. With no tension, there's no wrestling. There's just compliance.
Wow.
Right? And so tension is good. Don't be afraid of tension.
Yeah.
In this day and age, although the internet is, you have access to a lot of information. You got to work a little harder to make sure it's good information.
Right.
But at least you have
the
access
source.
to information. You got to be able to check your sources. But I think the generation we're talking about now, your daughter and your son,
Yeah.
they're more savvy. They
Yeah.
know how to do that.
Yeah.
You do as well, or they can teach you.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing. I think it's really important to allow young people to teach us.
Yeah.
They're living in a place with pressures and information and swiftly moving culture that's different from what you came up in.
Yeah.
And so to listen,
Yeah.
create an environment where they can come to you with unanswered, with paradigms, with unanswered questions, and allow them to explore.
Yeah.
Allow them, and I don't mean go out there and do the crazy. Oh, well, you're curious about drugs? Well, how about you try all of them? I'm not talking about that.
Right.
But
We're
I'm
talking
saying,
about reasonable.
yeah,
Right. Correct.
Why are you curious about this?
Correct. Instead of, a whole dissertation on,
Curiosity killed the cat.
oh, right.
Don't
That's
be
the
curious.
adage. Yeah.
Curiosity killed the cat.
Yeah.
No, it didn't.
There have been times when I felt that my curiosity almost killed me.
Yeah, because the judgment.
Right. But I lived to fight another day. So
You learned something.
oh, I did. I definitely learned something.
Yeah. So I would imagine you shaped the next curious experience by the answers you got from the first curious experience.
Correct. Because I'm a firm believer that God never wastes an experience.
Yeah.
That is truly how I
believe
feel.
that too.
And I truly believe that. Well, folks, you heard it here. This is Akia signing off from Rooted with Red with my good friend Davia Stevenson. She's just got all kinds of things going on that I can't even share all of them. So I'm gonna let her share with you guys, like her book, her podcast. What do you got going on? Where can they find you?
So that's the camera you wanted me to talk to, right? So
That one there.
A good reservoir, a good place to start if you want to find out what I'm doing is my Instagram, Davia at Davia Williams Stevenson, or my website, daviastevenson.com. You can buy the book. It's called A Month of Sundays, Elevating Self-Care to Soul Care. My podcast, which is the most fun that I do. Akia's been a 2-time guest on my podcast. She might be going for 3. We'll see what happens here. But what's the name of my podcast? Tales from the Shaker.
Oh, and you make the best cocktails, by the way.
Oh, yeah. So the shaker's got a number of meanings. It's the guest I'm talking to. It's a thing that shook you up in your life, and it's also the cocktail shaker where I make a drink and mocktail or cocktail.
Me and Moscow Mule.
With extra lime.
That's right, girl.
So, yeah, please connect through social media. My podcast is also available on YouTube. Easy to find. So, hope to see you around.
Listen, healing often begins the moment you realize that fear and shame are not proof of your holiness. I often say, guilt says I did something wrong. Shame says I am wrong. Just know that you are not wrong. Nothing in you is wrong, and you have permission to just be. See you soon. If this resonates, like, share, subscribe.